We're jumping right in today because guilt is literally the emotional equivalent of a pop-up notification. It's constantly there, blinking at you, buzzing at you, haunting you. And it's usually for responsibilities and expectations that you didn't even subscribe to. But grace is a system that updates and finally fixes all of the glitches. Welcome back to Emotional Alchemy, where we don't run from our shadows, we embrace them with a warm hug. We run towards them, we investigate them, and most importantly, we learn from them because emotions aren't scary, they're just misunderstood. I'm Rain, your host and Usui Reiki Master, energy healer, acupressurist, licensed cosmetologist, Reiki infused press on nail artist, and overall occult enthusiast. Today, we're engineering a strategic pivot in your life. We're going from an emotion that keeps us stuck in the past to an energy that empowers us, to an energy that elevates us, and to an energy that liberates us into our next chapter. Today, we transmute guilt to grace. Most guilt isn't intuitive. It's not even soul led, and most of the time, it's not even yours. It's programming from your society, from your family, from the culture. Legacy files that downloaded subconsciously. Unless guilt is directly tied to your values or your integrity, it's just pressure disguised as responsibility. And the kicker, we internalize it so deeply that it punishes and prevents us from having and telling our truth. So let's break it down with clarity and compassion. There is true guilt, and then there is false guilt. The false guilt that society in general experiences is feeling like you're not good enough. We live in a society of social media where we're influenced by this thing, by that thing, by this looks better, that looks better. If I did this to myself, I would be better. And of course, we all want to be better, but we have to learn how to appreciate who we are, where we stand right now without change. That's true love. Do you love yourself the way that you are? And if not, that definitely needs to be something that we work on every single day. Mom guilt. How many times have you felt guilty for having a job, for working, for taking your kids to school, for not homeschooling, for breastfeeding, for bottle feeding? Mom guilt is a real thing. We give so much of our energy, and it really prevents us from being who we are in the eye of judgment from others. One of my favorite is rest guilt. I grew up in an over functioning, high achieving family, and rest was something we tended to have to earn. Sleeping in was lazy, and it basically taught me to abandon my body and not listen when my body is saying, hey, I'm sick, I need to rest, or we're overexerted, we need a mental day. Boundary guilt. Something I heard not too long ago is the people who get mad at you for having boundaries are the one who benefited from you not having them. Boundary guilt is a thing. It's hard to say, I respect myself more than you, especially when you're a giver and a people pleaser. And you want to make friends and have connections and interact. You still have to protect your own boundaries and not feel guilty for having them, for protecting yourself, for taking care of yourself. We feel guilty for saying no. We feel guilty for not meeting other people's expectations. How wild is that? But it happens. Carrying emotional labor that's not ours. We all want to be there for our friends and family when they are going through difficult times. A lot of times we will carry extra burden on ourselves and then feel guilty because we can't carry it all. False guilt is nothing more than a micromanager hovering over your soul. With that being said, this is the difference. True guilt arises when your actions misalign with your integrity. when you know you could have shown up better, and when a mistake becomes a catalyst for growth. True guilt is productive. It helps you step into a better version of yourself without eternalizing your mistakes. False guilt is just noise, and it's noise that is essentially an obstacle, a blockage, especially the longer we internalize it. We're here to delete the noise and to elevate the signal of grace. Because once you can extend grace to yourself, you can easily do that with others. We all know by now, if you've been following this long, that guilt isn't just emotional. No emotions are just emotional. They're somatic. Because we tie those thoughts to emotions, and then we have a supercharge of whatever experience you've had before, and we constantly replay those over and over again. But you'll feel guilt in your solar plexus, knots, tightness, heaviness in the stomach area, slow digestion. You'll feel it in the throat, unspoken truths, swallowed feelings, not saying what you needed to say, or maybe saying too much. The shoulders, burdens that you were never meant to carry. That shit gets heavy. The abdomen, emotional digestions tend to get stuck in a buffering mode. So your digestion is not going to be functioning as properly. To alchemize guilt, we have to bridge the biology with the energy. So let's jump into some acupressure points. Our first one is going to be CV12, which we did last week, and that's located right below your diaphragm and the space in between the diaphragm and the belly button. And that's it dissolves emotional stagnation and helps you digest those old stories. Inserting a picture of ST37, which is located right below the knee. This helps stabilize the nervous system during spikes of guilt. It also helps with digestion and moving stagnant energy because it's connected to the stomach meridian. Is located at the top of your foot, inserting photo here. Helps you to release personal judgments and judgments from others, regret, as well as emotional backlogging. I love acupressure on the feet. It's extremely beneficial. You can do it for yourself, but you can also do it with a partner or a friend, which makes it even more energetic and healing in nature. 27. I have done this one through every episode of the Emotional Alchemy series thus far, and it will probably be included in every video of the series, as it is so beneficial at just opening up and creating a quiet vessel. So it's going to clear out the blockage, and it's going to regulate that nervous system. Absolute beautiful, beautiful location, located about an inch from the beginning of the located an inch from the center, right below the collarbone. It rewrites our stress response and brings the clarity back online. Remember, for any acupressure point, you can tap, press, or rotate in circles. We will do these in intervals of 30 to 60 seconds. You can move outward, you can move around the spot. The good thing about meridians is they all eventually connect. It's just a beautiful highway of electrical currents and fluids. These spots link up to resync the body so the soul can take the lead, which we know that the soul is the most eternal portion of us, and it's also the most educated and wise. The emotional pivot that we have here is grace is not letting yourself off the hook. Okay, it's also allowing yourself to take responsibility without punishment. That's the biggest thing. Grace is leadership without self-shaming. Grace is learning without crucifying yourself for the lesson. God, I needed to hear that today, because I tend to crucify myself over, like, I should have had better discernment. I shouldn't have went down there and experienced that, but I needed to experience it so I could learn the lessons. But we do tend to crucify ourselves for not seeing the red flags, if you will, beforehand. Grace says, I'm evolving, I'm adjusting, and I am worthy of compassion in the process. Amen. Hallelujah. This is the moment where guilt starts. I'm having trouble talking today. We're getting some throat chakra energy cleared out. But this is the moment where guilt stops running the meeting. It stops running the show. It stops being the boss of you. And grace becomes the new point of contact. This is transition, this is upgrade, and this is the alchemy between guilt and grace. Get your journals, get your pen, because you know we're not going anywhere without an honest conversation with ourselves. So let's integrate it with our signature polarity writing in our alchemist dialogue. I love that. This is our, instead of a journal, it's our alchemist dialogue. On the first piece of the paper, you are going to begin the letter with Dear Guilt. Let it pour out as per usual. Just unfiltered or raw, get it out. Ask guilt, what does it cost you? What stories have been looping? What pressure is placed on your shoulders? What you now understand about where it came from, and what you're ready to release. Allow this to be your emotional audit. Full transparency and full liberation can happen during this process, especially if you're honest with yourself. Remember, we write until we feel a change, so we feel like we've got it all out of our vessel. The main thing is to get it out and get it somewhere, and not keep it inside. On the next page, we're going to title that Dear Grace. This is the letter where we have a full pivot moment. Tell Grace what you're ready to embody. How can compassion become your new operating system? And this is not compassion for others, although once you start giving yourself more compassion and grace, you begin to extend that olive branch to others as well. What aligned action looks like moving forward. So if you're aware of something and you're still playing the old patterns, you can never bridge the gap to meet in the middle to get where you're going. So you have to take those aligned actions. By taking those aligned actions, you're building the ladder, making that bridge, whether you're consciously aware of it or not. How do you choose to show up without self-punishment? Some people are scared to try shit because they don't want to fail, and then they punish themselves for it. How can you show up messy and not punish yourself? What does it feel like to finally meet yourself with openness? Let this letter read like a mission statement to your evolution, because it essentially is. It is the floor plan that you need to build your stable foundation, your home under. Right, let's seal this in right now. We are going to place one hand over our heart and the other one on our solar plexus right under the boobs. And we're going to take a deep inhale. And as you inhale, you can internally say or externally voice it, I release what was no longer mine to carry. And then exhale. Take a few more intentional deep breaths, inviting in grace. Feel what grace feels like as you inhale. And then exhale guilt. Now we're going to gently find K27, K27, and we're going to feel your energy reset. Feel the nervous system soften and feel the guilt loosen from your grip. And what you do to one side, you're going to want to do to the other. Inhale again. And on the exhale, whisper, I choose grace. Confirmation ding. Learn something new today. If today shifted something inside of you, make sure you hit that like button. Also, comment and subscribe. Your encouragement supports the next soul who's waiting for their transformation. Remember, you can grab a personal healing session or coaching session with me, your press-on nails or ritual oils, and more at the link below. Join me next Wednesday at 11:11 a.m. for our next installment where we take anxiety and turn that into presence. Until then, be gentle, be accountable, be expanding, and remember, grace is a language your future self already speaks fluently. I love you. Have a beautiful day on purpose. Remember to live and love out loud.